Well, following on from Terry Morgan's presentation about skills, we're going to have a little discussion about skills. Let me welcome our speakers. Dave Beddell. Dave, where's Dave? Oh, he's here. Dave from Aecom, Sue Stevens from CIHT, and Grahame Carter from Matchtech. I say, building on, clearly the points that Terry made there around the challenge that we face in the transport sector to find the necessary skills to meet the changing needs, the changing transport sector. They are clear and they are very much with us. And Terry set some very, very steep targets in terms of the number of apprentices, etc. We're going to have a little quick discussion. I'd quite like to engage some folks in the audience. I've always got lots of questions, but let's set the scene. I'm just going to go through each of our panellists and get them to share some thoughts. Starting with you, Dave, I know you've been doing some work with Highways UK on a survey looking at the transportation skills. What's the thinking behind the survey? And just tell us a bit about it and how people can get involved in the survey.
So thank you, Andy. Good afternoon, folks. I think it's very evident from the panel discussions that we've heard throughout the course of the morning that there's a clear focus on skills and capacity. To bring some context to that, the National Infrastructure Plan for Skills estimated that the transport infrastructure spend for the 5-year period 2015 to 2020 was circa £90 billion. A little more than 12 months later, the National Infrastructure Delivery Plan concluded that a comparable spend was closer to £90 billion over the same 5-year period. So for the mathematicians amongst you, that's a 20% differential, and I think that kind of highlights the need to bring some genuine context and understanding of exactly what the issue is facing the sector. I think, to use quite a topical analogy, everybody's aware that there is a defect in the road. I don't think we quite know whether it's round the corner or whether it's two interchanges down the network, whether it's a pothole or whether it's a sinkhole when we arrive at it, and more pertinently, what kind of backfill material we actually need to plug the hole. There are some issues there in terms of what are the factors and some of the barriers that are preventing our industry from not only attracting but also retaining the right kind of capacity within the sector. We heard Sir Terry and we heard Tricia Haynes earlier on talk about the perception that it's still largely a male, pale and primarily still a sector that we're working in. So there's some real challenges there in terms of how we become more inclusive. And I think finally there's some questions needed around are we focused on attracting the right kind of talent? What we build now, what we invest today's funding in is going to serve the needs of the network over the next 20, 30-year period. So we need to challenge ourselves as to whether or not we're bringing the right kind of skill sets into the industry, or indeed whether we're losing Generation Z to high-tech industries that will be really pertinent to delivering the network of the future. So that is the basis of the Aecom Highways UK Skills Survey that we've launched, and we've had a very good take-up. If you've not yet taken part in the survey, I'd urge you to share your thinking with us. There is opportunity both at the Aecom stand and the Matchtech stand in today's floor space to share those views with the survey, and would welcome as much feedback as possible so we can get some real context on exactly how acute the challenge is.
And what stage is the survey at now? So when do you expect the results to be with us?
So the survey has now been live for a little over 2 months. We've just extended it to run up until the Christmas period, and we've got quite a strong sample size. Following the Christmas period, we will then go into digesting the feedback and producing an analytical commentary report in a similar fashion to the recently published CBI Aecom survey, and that will bring some real context and draw some conclusions to the feedback that we've received.
And from a company like Aecom, obviously you've got 95,000 staff globally. What kind of impact do you think, or what kind of changes can you make to your approach to skills that might, I suppose, make some fundamental differences across the UK transport sector?
Yeah, I don't think it's simply a solution of just increasing the number of headcount that we have proportionate to the pipeline as that increases. I think we need to be a little smarter than that. There is a necessity to increase that headcount, but equally I think there's a need for industry to be a little smarter in how we work and bring more intelligent solutions to how we can deliver a greater quantum with improved efficiency. So I think it's a number of different solutions in tandem that will help address the problem.
Okay. Turning to you, Sue, from the CIHT's perspective, I mean, how do you assess the transportation skills problem? Is it around not enough people entering the market? Is it the wrong skills? Is it an issue around diversity? What are the big key issues for you?
Well, I think it's a mixture of all of those things, actually. I mean, the good news is there's lots of work around. So there are transport projects planned, major projects to 2020 and beyond. There's the business of maintaining and improving the existing transport network. So there is a lot of work, which is great news. The not so great news is that, as Sir Terry mentioned earlier, we have an ageing workforce. We have fewer young people coming into the jobs market. There's lots of competition. Certainly, we heard today that rail is sort of forging ahead with trying to attract people into that mode of transport. And there's competition from outside the UK. So we have good news, and we have something really that we need to think about carefully and address. Now, the survey, the Highways UK Aecom survey that CIHT has also been involved in, is going to be really useful to identify pinch points and start to have sensible conversations about planning for the future. So I think that's a really necessary piece of work. But also there are three key things, and again this harks back to what Sir Terry was talking about, three things that we do need to think about. One is promoting careers in highways as being exciting and things that young people want to do, and you need to do that in schools. It's great to talk to graduates and attract them in, but really engaging with schools is where this starts, if you like. CIHT has produced an interactive toolkit that our members can use when they go to talk to young people in schools, and you do find that their parents, their teachers don't really understand what the industry is all about, and they don't know what sort of jobs that are open to them. So we have to get better at that. Secondly, we do need to widen the talent pool, and again, Sir Terry talked about this. If you keep going back to the same sources of recruits that you've used in the past, you're not going to get the numbers coming through, and you're not going to attract the talent that you could possibly be getting into the organisation. Because I think there's now a fairly wide acknowledgement that a more diverse workforce is good for business. So there's an even stronger incentive for casting the net more widely. And then once you've got them, you've got to keep them, because you're investing in training and skilling up people. The environment in which they work is going to be very important to them. And if they don't feel comfortable, if they don't feel respected and valued, they will look elsewhere. So the whole idea of creating an inclusive culture where people come in, new entrants come in, and they really do feel that they are